Well, hello everyone. Um, it seems as though every time I do a video, it's in a different location, but um, not to worry. Back here with another video on the channel. So that's pretty cool. I want to do this video starting with a sort of question, and then we can just sort of like dive into it from there. So that question is, what is truth? Why does it matter to us and to our society today? I feel like that's kind of a weird question for a lot of people, but it's something that in just normal conversation has been brought up, like at work and with a friend recently. So I thought, you know what? Let me do some thinking on this, and we'll try to answer the question. And there are some things that I've noticed whenever I've been thinking about this. I've noticed that in debates and in arguments and conversations, people like to sort of, and this is sort of like happening more recently than ever, we like to define our terms, get on common ground, see what we agree with already, and go from there. But then it seems as though after we've defined those terms and found that common ground and all the things we agree upon, we still can't find a center of truth, and we can't change our behaviors or base our logic and reasoning off of that center. And so that's caused me to think that perhaps truth is not what people are going for nowadays, and in certain situations. Perhaps truth is not the end goal. It's just something that we like to have in our back pocket that we can bring out and reference, and it causes us to think that we're right. It causes us to think that we're on moral grounds because we have this sort of semblance of truth next to us. But sort of analogy is that truth to the liar becomes a vegetable to the glutton. It's good. Thought of it myself. It's good to have and to be able to reference and to know about, but it's something that is not digestible. It's something that the liar is not going to take seriously, and the glutton is not going to take seriously. And so that's sort of where we begin. Now, something that I find is very, very prevalent in America, and just now, I don't know if this has happened like before I was born, because obviously I was born at a specific place and time, but as far as I've seen, as far as I've been alive, in America at least, people often try to disregard truth so that we can spare the feelings of people who are wrong, because those are people that we love. And I think that is a valiant effort to save friendship or to make other people think that we're more respectful than we are, but it's extremely harmful, in my opinion, in my biased opinion, because I'm pro-truth. We'll have friends that are either in a state of deception, they're being deceived by something, or they're actively lying just to get what they want, and we think, well, we know what's true, we know what's right, but in order to keep the friendship and to not spark a debate that is never going to get resolved, we might as well let them have their fun, let them have their truth, and just move on because it's not affecting us. But herein lies the problem, because every society is based off of a narrative of truth, right? If the actual reality is not present, then a vacuum will form and a void will be there, and something else is going to fill it. Now, the people in power, or the people who are the loudest, are always going to try to fill that void with whatever suits them, whatever narrative, whatever version of reality makes them feel good and makes them seem like moral people. And so whenever we don't fight for reality, then we get sort of mixed up remixes of what sort of suits the people who are making these decisions. And so your society is always going to be built by something. It might as well be the thing that is true being in accordance with reality. Because now that we hijack words, we give words different meanings, it's really important to actually define your terms and do something about those definitions. Do something with your own life. But again, back to the respect part of it, I'm not gonna necessarily bring in any specific cultural issues, because you can probably think of a few off the top of your head that have to do with truth. But, and there are a couple of those that have caused me to think about this a little bit more. However, whenever we have a friend who is living in a lie, thinking that they are on the right track and they're really just mistaken, and they cannot be convinced of the truth, cannot be convinced that they might be wrong, cannot be convinced to look at another point of view, if we pander to that lie and we allow that lie to live even in their minds, we are doing them a disservice, because a lot of the lies of the culture today that we know of and that we allow to grow and be, they are not super old. A lot of the cultural issues, a lot of the things that we fight most passionately about, these are new things. And that means that we don't have a good representation of the lifespan of these issues in time itself. Now, whenever we are old, and people my age, when we're old, and whenever these things are passing, reality is going to win. That's the biggest thing to remember. Reality is going to win. And the things that are true are always going to win out. Now, whenever we look back at history from our old age, are we going to realize, hey, we were fighting for what was right, and all these people were wrong, and we tried to tell them, we were pointing them toward the truth, and perhaps they got to the truth faster because we allowed them to? Or are we going to say, yeah, I knew that this was true all along, but I wanted to spare your feelings, and hey, we ended up in the same place, and you liked me more during the time? It seems to me that allowing people to live in lies and lying to them is a disservice to them, because we are only delaying the reality that is going to come upon them, whether they like it or not. And also, it's not good for the person who is withholding the truth, because then we are sort of practicing a lie, even though we know it's a lie. And honestly, how much worse is that whenever we know what's good and we choose to do bad anyway? So, now I understand that there's a sort of school of thought that says, like, if this person is so convinced in their lies and we aren't going to change their minds, then maybe it doesn't hold a ton of weight if we don't actively fight against the lies, if we don't actively instill truth into these situations. And honestly, I think it's the same sort of issue. Like, if you really believe that this thing is true, and you believe that it is true for all people, all places, all times, then you should think that it is important enough to instill in places where the opposite is being advocated for, right? So if you see something that is a lie and you know the truth and you care about the truth enough, then you should be able to go into those places and sort of take out the darkness with the light, sort of fill the area. And this is kind of hard to do because people who we love are obviously deceived by a lot of things. People have differences in opinions, and some things are more important than the others, but there are a lot of differences in opinions on the very important things. Again, not going to say what these things are, but for now. But anywho, whenever we allow those things to exist, then we're just increasing the likelihood that those people who are louder and people with bigger voices are going to fill the void that comes in our society with those lies. And so it's better for the person that is living in the lie, if we tell them the truth. B, it's better for us, the people who know the truth, to practice the truth rather than practicing a lie in hopes to respect the person living in the lie. And C, it is good for the people outside of the situation. So the children of the society, the other leaders of the society, the people who aren't privy to the conversation already, they'll look in and they'll say, oh, so this is truth. Like, there is a difference of opinion, and they can look at both sides rather than just saying, oh, okay, this is the sort of consensus. Because a lot of our common truth now derives from the society. And again, whenever people prop up false ideals as truth in the society, then that's what causes people like children, like people who are impressionable, to get false ideas, and then just keep spreading. So what started as respect for a person you love who is caught in deceit becomes more people who are going to be the next generations in your society to be lied to and to believe lies from a young age. Right? This is what indoctrination is. This is what propaganda is for children, for people who are impressionable. And so I think it's the job of people who know truth to fight those lies, because then if we take out the lies one by one, we'll make our society better, we'll make the society in the future better, and we will honestly be doing a service to those who are living in the lies right now. Because if the things that we see as lies truly are lies, then they aren't doing anybody any good, right? So that's probably as much as I can say on the topic right now without going into specific areas and stuff, but if I were to do that, I think the video would be much longer. So we're gonna stop it about here. This was cool. Haven't uploaded in a minute, although right now I think the only views I've gotten on my videos are myself, so it's alright though. But yeah, I think that's where we're gonna end it. Let me look through. I wrote some of this stuff down, but yeah, I think our denial of the truth is a pretty American thing. You know, we're pretty progressive. We oftentimes value comfort over truth, because comfort is a lot of what we already know. And so if we can just mold and shape the society to what we want it to be, then we can just produce comfort at the detriment of reality. But reality isn't very quick to act sometimes, and so it seems easy. But if you were to go to some countries, some places that value truth over comfort, then I think we'd have a pretty rude awakening. So yeah, that's where we're gonna leave it today. Thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and see you in another one. Bye bye.